So the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill is it passed the Senate. It's gonna pass the House. Probably already has by the time you're watching this. And I don't want to give people the wrong impression as to this bill. There's a lot of good stuff in this bill.
Good job. All right.
People need the help. You have the $3,000 child tax credit, which would cut child poverty in half. You have the $300.
I think it's. I'm sorry. I hate Kulinski so much, so I'm going to fact check whatever little thing. I think it's $3,600 tax credit for under age 5. Okay. 3,000 for, I think it was 5 to 15 or something. Or was it under age 7? Yeah. Okay. We're everything Kulinski said gets hardcore fact check, but we'll let him slide on that one. It's okay. He's generally
per month unemployment. That was $400, but Joe Manchin weaseled his way into reducing that. You have the $1,400 stimulus checks. You have relief for states that were getting obliterated as a result of COVID. The other part that nobody really talks about, but I think it's one of the most important parts of this bill, is that it basically saves over 1 million people's pensions. So that's huge. So again, I don't want to give everybody the wrong impression about this bill. This bill, in many ways, is a phenomenal piece of legislation. And I'm trying to pull up, as I talk to you guys right now, I'm trying to...
Okay, this is... Good job, Kulinski. Not falling too far off the edge.
See if I can find... There's a Jeff Stein tweet. Here we go. Jeff Stein of the Washington Post. Here's what he says. It's a new analysis of Biden's stimulus. Poverty falls by 42% for black people as a result of this bill, 39% for Hispanic people, and 34% for white people. Overall, the bill lowers the poverty rate from 13.7% to 8.7%. So listen, that's amazing. And I like what Internet Hippo said about this. He says, so the government really has a reduced poverty dial that they could just crank? Yeah, they do. They do. And so it's almost inexcusable that they even left 8.7% of people in poverty. We should eliminate poverty. You know.
So the classic, true. It should have been 10 trillion in stimulus. Okay.
Poverty is a choice. It's a policy choice that we've made. Now, thankfully, we made the decision to reduce it, but we could eliminate it if we really wanted to. So anyway, there's some good stuff in the bill, but keep it real, man. The two most important big ticket items that were the selling point of the bill are not in the bill. $2,000 stimulus checks, that was reduced to $1,400. The Weasley move where they said, you already got $600, so it's going to be $2,000 total. Nonsense.
I want to talk real quick about this. Because AOC jumped on this too, and it's a little bit annoying. When Biden was originally promising $2,000 checks, what the promise was, before the checks came out, it was supposed to be $2,000. And then after the $600 checks came out, AOC and Ilhan Omar themselves suggested an amendment. Let's do it. Rashid Tlaib and I already co-wrote the COVID amendment for $2,000 checks, so it's ready to go. Glad to see the president is willing to support our legislation. We can pass $2,000 checks this week if the Senate GOP agrees to stand down. In Section 6428A of the IRS Code of 1986, blah, 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 blah. Okay, in subsection A1, strike $600, $1,200 in the case of eligible individuals filing a direct return, and insert $2,000. AOC's original proposal that everybody jumped on board was changing the 600 to 2,000. It wasn't 600 plus 2,000. That is just like not true. That's what the $2,000 legislative effort was in relation to. It wasn't that everybody got $600 checks and now Now I know 2,000 sounds good and that's like what's on everybody's like fucking minds, but like yeah, it's really annoying that people are like trying to turn this around as like Biden like lied to us or whatever. According to Bernie Sanders,
we have promised the American people. We've said two things in the last month. We said we're going to get you $2,000, and that's $600 plus $1,400. And what we have promised the American and what
they lowered the unemployment by $100 but extended it till September. Kyle is lying, saying it's Joe Manchin lowered the unemployment checks. Oh, sure. Okay. I mostly agree, but it looks bad optically since the main selling point of voting for Warnock and Ossoff was they're going to $2,000 period. Yeah, I guess, but it's not technically true, but I guess bad optically. But mainly bad optically because pundits like this guy like will scream at you about how bad optically it is. But sorry, I just wanted to talk about that for a second.
$2,000 checks and the $15 minimum wage. It's not in there. So now you're going to hear the conversation going on in elite media about this. You're going to see Morning Joe and one other MSNBC show. Look at how they're talking about the left in relation to this bill.
And how are they dealing with their own party? I know that there were actually progressives that were complaining that this didn't do enough. There was some fighting going back and forth, attacks against Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. How do they feel those back and forths are going? I would think almost every progressive, even just looking at Steve's charts, every progressive has to understand this is the most historic piece of legislation to help working class and middle class Americans that this country has put forward in decades.
Well, there was certainly some sarcastic behind-the-scenes commentary about Senate Majority Leader Joe Manchin, considering the senator from West Virginia's outsized influence on the process right now. Those in the West Wing weren't always delighted about that, but they recognize that deals had to get made. And in terms of attacks from the left, they are actually really grateful for the support of Bernie Sanders, who they believe has really given them progressive cover here. That yes, there are some on the very left portions of the party in the House who have some complaints, who might make a little bit of noise this week, but they feel like if Bernie Sanders is on board with this and released a statement afterwards touting how historic it was and how necessary it was, the progressives will fall in line too.
The COVID relief package vote seems to be sliding by a day as they try to get the text together for it. Do you see any challenges on the horizon getting this back through the House? I mean, progressives have been critical of Joe Manchin for essentially forcing them to negotiate with themselves, lowering that unemployment number. Do you see any problems? Or, I mean, I have a hard time imagining someone's going to stand up and say, yeah, actually, I'm going to stand in the way of the Democratic president's first major priority.
No, I mean, if it were Republicans, they probably would, and they would hold out for that last $100 a week in unemployment insurance that Joe Manchin and Senate Democrats cut. I do think it's going to pass, Casey. I think it's going to pass easily. But remember, I mean, Nancy Pelosi has a 5-seat margin before she is in big trouble or before she can't pass a bill. But no, I do think the progressive left is going to stay with Joe Biden here and is going to deliver him his victory without much turbulence. I was a bit surprised about that. I thought that there would be more kind of tumult on the left, but there's not. And that's a big win for Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden to get this bill across the finish line this week. I was skeptical, and we've talked about it before, that they would get this done by the March 14th deadline. But here we are, and it looks like they're going to.
That is colossally depressing. It really is. It really is. So in the first clip there, they discuss how Bernie Sanders gave Joe Biden progressive cover on this bill. Bernie is giving his good friend Joe progressive cover. They say in the second clip, effectively, hey, the left is going to fall in line. There's a part where he says, quote, if they were Republicans, they probably would fight. If they were Republicans, they wouldn't fall in line. They would hold out for what they wanted. And then he starts laughing.
Well, because if they were Republicans and you have a Democratic president and a Democratic Congress, then of course you'll hold out and fight because you know it would make the Democrats look fucking horrible if you stalled a coronavirus relief bill to try to fight for some relatively minor stuff in the bill. Talking about the $100 unemployment. Now, if you're talking about the 15-hour minimum wage thing, this is just never, ever, ever happening. I like how he's going to compare. I don't know if he's going to do it, but I like how he's about to compare. No, maybe he won't do it. It sounds like he's about to say progressives should fight like Republicans. Like, well, but the progressives don't want to destroy the entire Democratic agenda. They just want to push it further left. They don't want to be destructive obstructionists like Republicans are. But maybe he won't. Maybe Kulinski is about to surprise us with his political prowess. Okay, let's hear it. Hold on.
He laughs. He's laughing at the left. He says, without much turbulence. Then he says, I was surprised. I was surprised that, the left is basically falling in line with a whimper here. Not much fight. Honestly, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Now, Ro Khanna, a few days ago, or last week or something, drafted a letter and sent the letter to the Biden White House. And the letter basically said, we want that $15 minimum wage in there. You should overrule the parliamentarian. Over 20 House Democrats signed that bill. Over 20. But then Ro went on in an interview to say, hey, if the $15 minimum wage doesn't make it into the bill, yeah, I'll probably vote for the bill anyway. So in other words, you wrote a letter suggesting to the Biden White House to overrule the parliamentarian who said, oh, $15 minimum wage can't be in there. Why the fuck would they ever listen to your suggestion? Why would they listen to your There's no reason for them to listen to your suggestion. You're going to say, thanks, Ro, we're done here. We're going to go in the other direction. Why? Because they don't want to do a $15 minimum wage. The part that's so frustrating is this. Over 20 House Democrats signed that letter. If those over 20 House Democrats voted as a block, the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill would not be able to pass. It is a must-pass bill. So you know what?
What? Okay, so he did exactly what I didn't truly believe he could do. But so he's just saying that the Democrat, like whatever concessions you make to those people on the far left are not going to be accepted by the people on the right. So what do? Do you just... Do you just say, fuck it? We're just not going to pass COVID relief until, like...
But they would have had to take a seat at the table and figure out a way to get the House Democrats on board to vote for the bill. And the House...
To get the House Democrats on board, how are you going to bring the Republicans on board?
Democrats could have said, there's more of us that are mandating the $15 minimum wage be in the bill than there are those that say it shouldn't be in the bill. So it's on you, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
It's almost like he thinks that this bill was literally just about fit. Well, no, he opened the start talking about all the good things of the bill. Here is a better question. Here's what I wish. Not a single Republican voted for it, did they? Not in the Senate. I don't know in the House. But here's something that I wish you could ask Kyle Kulinski. Kyle, what would you have wanted them to cut from the bill in order to pass 15 an hour minimum wage? Do you want to cut the $135 billion to schools? Do you want to cut the $1,400 checks? Do you want to cut the $3,000 to $3,600 child tax credits? Do you want to cut the fact that they were made refundable? Do you want to cut the $330 billion to state? What do you want to cut? What do you want to trash in that bill to try to fight for your 15 an hour minimum wage, which, by the way, still has no chance of passing the Senate or the House, by the way. It doesn't. Like, what do you want to cut in that bill? Because you talk about negotiating all the time. All these lefty cucks always talk about, oh, you go to the negotiating table. What do you want to cut that's going to make that bill survive and get every single member of your party on board with it?
To get to work.
It won't pass the House. It won't pass the Senate. If the bill goes from the Senate to the House, there were 8 Democrats. So you would have to get some Republicans on board with your legislation, right? Or I don't even know how you do it. There were 8. My understanding is there were 8 Democrats who said they wouldn't sign on to a 15-hour minimum wage. Hold on, we can check. Democrats, Senate, no 15-hour minimum wage. I think there were 8, weren't there? Oh, here it is. The 8 Democrats who voted no on the 15-an-hour minimum wage. There's no way that this was ever passing. Like,
go talk to Joe Manchin. Go talk to Kirsten Sinema. Go talk to the 8 ones in the Senate.
oh,
Chris Coons is supposed to be like a bestie of Biden. Go talk to your boy, son. Go talk to your boy. And you play politics. So you say to them, listen, we could be best friends or we could be worst enemies. What do you want in order to support the $15 minimum wage? You tell me and I'm going to deliver on it. What do you want? You want something special for Delaware, Chris Coons? Okay, let's talk about what you want. What do you want money allocated for? I got you. Go talk to Joe Manchin. Joe, what do you want, man? What do you want? You want some sort of provision in the infrastructure bill that mandates double the amount of money goes to West Virginia? Is that what you want? I can make that happen, dog. I can make that happen. It's a carrot and stick approach. You can either be their best friend or their worst enemy. If you cross me on this.
I feel like Kulinski thinks that Biden could literally have passed any piece of legislation he wants. Like, Biden could pass the mandatory waifus that we all so want if only he would just wheel and deal in fucking Congress. Biden could pass literally anything he wants if he's just willing to wheel and deal a little bit.
And if you don't vote for the $15 minimum wage, listen, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. You're going to support it. But if you don't support it, I'm going to make your life a living hell and your career in Washington, D.C. is over. And I'm going to take my 62% approval rating and campaign directly against you and support a primary opponent against you as well. How you like them apples? This is how you play politics. This is what you do.
I also like this idea that, like, the way that you play politics is we need to go primary our own people when we have a 50-vote majority in the Senate. By virtue of the representative, we have 51 to 50 votes in the Senate, and he wants to talk about primarying other Democrats. That's what we're going to spend our time on 2022. We're going to spend our time in 2022 with the president going around trying to primary friendly Democrats, not expand our margins in the Senate, not get an actual margin in the House. We're just going to spend all of our time primarying other moderate Dems in West Virginia, by the way.
But guess what? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were never going to fucking do that unless they were forced to do that. The only people who had the power to force them to do that were those over 20 House Democrats who could have voted as a bloc. Said, no, we're not supporting this bill. You said $15 minimum wage. You said it. I didn't make you say it. You said it. It's a 67% issue according to a poll from 2019. 67% of the country supports it. You're going to do what you promised. And I'm going to...
It sounds like he watched like an episode of House of Cards and he's like, oh, we're not going to do proportional response. We're going to fucking blah, blah. Like that's honestly what it sounds like is he watched like too many episodes of House of Cards. He's like, I know how to do all of politics. We just got to go hard.
Make you do what you promised. You said $15 minimum wage. We're not voting for this bill unless it has a $15 minimum wage in there. They didn't fight. They didn't fight. You want to know why Joe Manchin always gets what he wants? Because he says, I'm not going to fucking vote for it unless it's what I want. So why are the House Democrats not doing that? You say you all want $15 minimum wage. Prove it. Fight for it. 67% of the country. If you're not going to fight on this, you're not going to fight on anything. And it's pathetic. Even elite corporate media. You heard how they were talking about you. Bernie gave Biden progressive cover. Thank you, Bernie, for folding and not fighting for the $15 minimum wage. They're gonna fall in line. If they were Republicans, they would probably fight. Oh, I was surprised that, with very little turbulence, that they're all going to fall in line. You guys are embarrassing, man. You guys are embarrassing. And you know what? I think the reason why they don't want to do it, honestly, is because it's hard. It is hard. If you fight for $15 minimum wage, you know what's going to happen? All of Democratic leadership is going to rain holy hell down on you. You're going to have Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden put you on their enemies list. That's what they're going to do. The media is going to try to slit...
Why does he think didn't Biden say he was for 15 an hour minimum wage? Didn't he say that on the campaign trail? Didn't we hear him say this multiple times? I thought Biden has said. Like, yeah, like, so I'm curious if, like, I'm so curious what Kyle thinks about it. Like, does Kyle think that Biden lied about the 15-hour minimum wage and he wants to keep people in poverty? Or, like, it's a big, like, QAnon conspiracy? Like, which Jewish person is, like, I'm going a little bit far, but, like, I'm so curious. Like, how conspiratorial are you? Like, why do you think he publicly states his support for the minimum wage? And I want to know what the conspiracy is there in his brain for, like, why he kind of supports it and kind of doesn't. I'm super curious about that. This is what populism does to your brain.
Your throat. They're going to try to absolutely destroy you. But you know what? This is one of those issues where it doesn't matter how deep the propaganda is and how much they come after you. You are on the moral high ground if you fight for it, because you are representing 67% of the American people who don't want the minimum wage to not be a living wage anymore. You're fighting for the basic principle that if you work full time, you should make enough money to survive. That's what you're fighting for. You should love to take on that fight. You should bathe in the hatred of corporate media and the hatred of Democratic leadership. Are you kidding me? I would lean into this fight like you've never seen before. I'd say, I dare you to take me on this fight. I dare you. You want to debate it? Let's debate it. Did you know that if the minimum wage kept up with productivity, it'd be over $20 an hour today, and you're putting up a fight over 15? 15. They don't want to do it because it's hard. Sorry, listen, I know a lot of these people who are the left wing.
What? Okay, sorry. Who is Sim Daddy Kane in Twitch chat is super mad. This guy is a dipshit. The progressive Dems in Nevada just won the Senate party, and the centrist Dems quit and took the money. You know why? Because they are not on our side, moron. Yeah, no shit, they weren't on our side. Because the crazy progressive wing in Nevada took over the fucking the party seat or whatever. Yeah, they transferred the funds and left. Of course they did. What the fuck? They raised that money. Why would they let a bunch of outsiders come in and squander it? The Nevada party system or whatever. Those people have always been fucking insane in Nevada. I think that fucking not 20 years ago, it was 15 years ago, was a whole bunch of Ron Paul people ended up taking over. For whatever reason, I don't know what the fuck happens in Nevada, but Nevada party politics shit is insane. I don't know why or what you guys do in Nevada, but yeah, that shit is fucking wild. Holy shit. Yeah, those people are posting guillotines and shit on Twitter afterwards. The people in Nevada that do politics are insane. That populist drug, oof.
Congress people. They care about what the media says about them. They do. They do. They want positive press. They don't want negative press. They care about what leadership thinks of them. They want pats on the head from leadership. They don't want to fight with leadership. So then listen, just acknowledge and admit you're not leaders. You're followers. Admit it. Admit it's a fact. It's a fact. Leaders would fight on this. Leaders would take the fire from the media, would take the fire from leadership. That should be what you want to do. You should want that fight. And I don't care if it's the Republicans or if it's Democrats who are blocking me. You are my enemy on this issue if you're not for $15 minimum wage. Again, if you're not going to fight for this, you're not going to fight for anything. So pack it up. It's over. You know, the only stuff we're going to get through is the stuff
if you're not going to fight for literally what would be the most extreme. Is this what he does? Does he just well, Bernie saved Joe Biden and the left fell in line. Okay. I was going to say, because I wonder if this, because he doesn't even really talk about the COVID-19 legislation. It's just, I wonder how many videos, I wonder if I were to go through the past 2 years of Kyle Kulinski videos, how much he just tries to shoehorn Medicare for all or 15 an hour minimum wage into every single fucking video. If that's all he talks about.
Fucking Joe Manchin allows. So we basically have a moderate Republican president in Joe Biden and Joe Manchin, who's really the president. That's what we have.
Then expand your lead. Why don't you go take your little Justice Dems and go win in some competitive areas? Don't just primary Dems in safe districts. Expand our margins. That's how you get legislation passed. Welcome to democracy.
And, some people might be okay with that little pocket change. I'm not okay with that. And working people aren't okay with that. And the world can't wait for that. So,
Well, I guess we'll see how popular this legislation is. And we'll see how much, the working people like it, huh?
Honestly, it really is just pathetic. It's pathetic. If you're not going to fight for this, you're not going to fight for anything. So, there's nothing else to say except your failures. Now, I told you, there's stuff in that bill that's good. It was a must-pass bill, which is why this was the time to fight for $15 minimum wage. If you're not going to get it now, you're never going to get it. You're not going to fight for it now, so you're never going to get it.
Wait, why? If it's so popular in America, there's so much political pressure, if so many people want this, if we can do, why won't you get it later? Why can't you get it in its own bill? Or why can't you get it as part of another bill? Why is it so impossible to get when you tell me the only fucking way you're getting 15 an hour is if you pass in this must-pass fucking do-or-die fucking bill, kind of make it sound like it's really not that popular. You make it sound like it's not that politically possible if this is the only way that it's going to happen.
You know what's likely to happen now? Either nothing on the $15, nothing on raising the minimum wage, or if they do something, it'll be this pathetic. You ready? They'll try to do some shit through regular order where they raise it to $11 an hour, $10 an hour, $11 an hour, maybe even 10 because they've got to get some Republicans to get over 60 votes, right? So they're raising
an 11 or 12 an hour minimum wage hike would be based as fuck, by the way, if you were making like anywhere near minimum wage. That would actually be sick. Now, Kyle Kulinski, who makes millions of dollars a year on YouTube, might not think anything about it because he doesn't have any fucking idea what the average person earns or cares about. But
to $10 an hour. They'll also link it to median wage increases or inflation. So you know what that does? It's an automatic raise year by year. Now, you say, Kyle, I don't know, that sounds pretty good to me, right? I mean, automatic raises, that's wonderful. You want to know why they would take this approach and why they would do it? Raising it from $7.25 to $10 or $11. $10 or $11 is still not a living wage. So you work full time and you still don't make enough money to survive. And
well,
then,
first of all, that's probably not true in every area. And also, 15 an hour, depending on what you're talking about, probably wouldn't be a living. What do you even consider like a living wage? What does that even necessarily mean? Like, I'm curious what he means by that. I wonder what 12 an hour would look like in Nebraska. So 12 an hour times 40 hours a week times 52 weeks, 25,000 a year. It's 2,000 a month. We knock off 500 for taxes. I mean, like, I feel like at 12 an hour in Nebraska and Omaha, I feel like you could survive off of that. Am I crazy?
by linking it to inflation or median wage increase, they give you the automatic raises, but it never gets to the point where it's a living wage. So the real dirty trick there is you never revisit the issue ever again. And the minimum wage is permanently not a living wage. Because anytime you bring it up, like, hey, let's have a vote on raising the minimum wage to a living wage, they say, what are you, crazy? We have a reasonable minimum wage, and they get raises yearly because it's chained to inflation. So no, we're not going to vote on that. We're never going to vote on that again. They get the raises automatically. We don't need to revisit this issue. This issue is done. See how dirty it is? And all that could have been avoided if the left fought, because over 20 said we want.
Okay, this is such a stupid argument. Can't you make this argument for the 15 an hour minimum wage? Can't you just, like, I feel like if I was like Kyle Kulinski, like 2.0, if I was like the robot version of Kyle Kulinski, I was upgraded, couldn't I just say, this is why we can never pass minimum wage at 15 an hour, why we always have to peg it to inflation? Because imagine, if we pass 15 an hour, well, what's going to happen in 10 years when the cost of living goes up, when the median wages go up? Well, now they're going to say, well, look, we passed 15 an hour before, so now we're never going to make it any higher. We already gave you the biggest wage hike of all time. We gave you 15 an hour. You didn't want it pegged to median wages before. Now you're asking for it. Like I feel like you could, like, this is so dumb. This is so stupid. This is so, like, basic. Like, I feel like this is like high school kids arguing at a lunch table over, like, politics. Like, that's what it feels like.
Want the $15?
Like, wouldn't it be base if we did, like, no, dude, that would be so stupid. Like, we got to do this. Like, well, what about in that one episode of The West Wing where, like, I don't know. This seems dumb.
Minimum wage in there.
I don't know.
But they're willing to say it and suggest it without leveraging their vote and fighting. So they don't even understand politics 101. Or they don't really want it as much as they say they do. They don't really care that much. Those are the only two options. Either they know absolutely nothing about politics, or they know they just don't really care that much. I don't know which is worse. I think both things are incredibly pathetic.
The media is all a Twitter.
Okay. Two more that I can handle for this. That feel when Kyle Kulinski knows more about politics than all of Congress. What a genius.